Alright, welcome back to our video series. Today we're going to focus on iceberging the text. And really this is just our term in our classroom of close reading and what we expect when we ask students to close read. This video is going to focus more on the student's perspective of what I as a teacher expect from them. I'll have a following video from more the teacher's perspective of how to set up a classroom for success with this process. So that being the case, let's get rolling. So when we close read, something that's really important is that we do these four things before we even get started as students, but also as a teacher leading this. And the first thing is we commit to our intention, or I should say, let's just make it a little bit simpler, name our intention. What is our goal of reading this text? And I think from a teacher's perspective, you need to know why is your class reading this, but from a student's perspective, you need to have a goal going in. It's not just, oh, I need to read this so I can answer the questions at the end. Why are you reading this? You should be able to name it explicitly. This is an important step. And I'll model this also in a separate video when we go through the full process sampled out. Second step is, and this is a big ask, I know, commit to 3 reads. It can't be one read if it's a close read. If you're only reading something once, you're not close reading. And a lot of times 2 reads feels like enough. It really isn't for this full process, so you need to commit to 3 reads. Also, a reminder to teachers, though I know there's a whole video for you, if you're reading something too long, the 3 reads aren't going to happen. So shorter is better than longer when it comes to close reading. Third thing, this is a one that you'll hear me say a lot in my classroom, is you need to commit to read actively. And this means, and I'm going to make this kind of small, but it matters a lot, get messy. So you should get very messy on your paper, or if it's digital on your Google Doc. You need to be putting your thoughts on the page itself. Get active with your reading. And the last thing is commit to discussing your findings. This is such an easy step to skip. I know as a teacher it's easy to be like, hey, take this for homework and iceberg the text, but you should be having discussions at every step with people around you, and that's a different way of expanding your thinking. It's also a way for you to understand where they're coming from. So now that we've made those commitments, let's go into the process. So we've said 3 reads. There are 3 levels, and we've got our little iceberg metaphor here, and we're going to be working our way deeper into the text with these 3 levels. Each level is aligned to each read. So level 1, there are 2 questions we are asking as we read. Those questions are, what does it say? And what do you see? And this is a very basic, this is the top of the iceberg level, making sure we have a general comprehension of what we're reading. Now, I'm going to model what this looks like. So in my classroom, I'm going to ask you to do 2 things on level 1. As you go, after every paragraph or section, I want you to what we call roadmap, which is a short, maybe 1 to 3, 1 to 4 word summary of what each paragraph is about. And this can be done really jotted down. It does not have to be done, super typed out, really well done. I am doing that as I read. So I don't read the whole thing and come back and roadmap. I read a paragraph, roadmap. Read a paragraph, roadmap. Just what are the basic things? Like what's your biggest takeaway? And we call it a roadmap because it allows you to come back and understand basically what was happening in the text. You'll also note I've been highlighting as I read. So I am going through and marking, underlining, as I go. I'm not explaining why. I'm just things that catch my eye. I'm highlighting them. And then the last thing in level 1, I'm going to write down what's the main idea of the text. In 1 sentence, what is this text about? Not the theme, not the message, but what is it basically saying? What's a brief 1-sentence summary? That is what level 1 entails. So level 1 is quick. You're doing that. You then go into your process of sharing with others. Maybe they notice different things, different main idea. And then you get ready for the real work begins in level 2 in terms of breaching the water and getting under the surface. Here are the 2 questions for level 2. How does the text work? And what does it show? Now, what we're going to do for level 2, now I'm going to move quickly through this, knowing that there's other videos that go more in detail. I'm asking you to annotate the key word, which is to explain your thinking. So going back to what you highlighted the first time around and saying, what do they show you? I have a full system here I'll click to really quickly that shows you what annotations can be used in my classroom, at least the ones I recommend. but please feel free to consult that video if you want a deeper explanation of that. Here's what this would look like in practice. So I've already read through, I've already done my road mapping over here. Now after level 2, I went through each one I highlighted, and off to the right, I said, hey, fellow, I highlighted that because it shows he sees them as equals. Confined, that word choice emphasizes the idea of being trapped. I have this little mark for tone because this thing right here showed a positive and cooperative tone. I have this arrow right here for a shift, saying he begins to explain why. So there are different types. I've highlighted this in a different color because I saw it the second time around, not the first time. I've got hashtag here for figurative language. So you're going through on the right-hand side and you are annotating, and then you end with something we call text structure. What is the structure of this text? Not the summary, but how is it organized? It opens more positive and direct, but then shifts to a religious purpose in the third paragraph and a human purpose in the fourth paragraph. If you can master that skill along with main idea, you're in a great place as a student. That's why I challenge you to build this into your practice as a reader. So at that point, we've now done levels 1 and level 2, and we only have one level left, and this is how we get down to this most important part of the iceberg, the deepest, and these questions that pretty much, cover everything. What does it mean, and why does it matter? And there are 4 main questions I'm going to ask you to deal with when you get to this point, and they are as follows. First one's a pretty basic one. What was the most important line, and explain why? And if you think about most important line, that gets you geared towards theme, and that's why it's a good starting point for our reactions. Potential themes, I'm going to ask you usually to come up with multiple because that stretches your thinking, and after you have multiple themes, it leads to a good discussion of which is the most important. Author's purpose, why did the author write this text or this portion of the text? What is driving them? What is motivating them? And then questions, which are really good to share with other people once you're done. I may not ask you to do all 4 of these things, but I will ask you to usually do some combination of them after you finish reading a text. So to walk you back through briefly in terms of what I expect, and I have terminology for all these right here. I also have a separate video and documents to help you with other tools and modeling this. But in basic, when I say iceberg a text, remember these 4 commitments we're going to make beforehand, but remember you're going to read it 3 times. First for comprehension, second for analysis, third for evaluation, that there are steps you need to complete along the way for each of those. If you have any questions, let me just quickly show you what this could look like when you're done. So I've got roadmap to the left, annotate or analyze to the right, and then react underneath of the text itself. And you walk away with a text that really leaves you prepared to go into whatever higher level thinking is asked of you beyond this analysis activity. So that being the case, if you have questions, feel free to reach out over email. For teachers watching this, remember I have a follow-up video from the teacher's perspective, and have a great day.